All right, we'll let some folks finish joining and get all of their everything set up. Great. So before we get started, everyone, feel free to stay off camera if you would like, no pressure. You're more than welcome to just listen today. Also, we will be accepting questions in the chat box throughout the presentation. So if you have any questions for myself or Nick or Courtney, drop them in there and we have some time at the end. So thank you everyone for joining us today for an exciting conversation about the future of coaching in early childhood education. My name is Shelby McIntyre. I will be your webinar moderator today. I'm a previous educator and a current advocate for early childhood education, working on the marketing team here at Torsh. And so I am joined by Courtney Williams, our CEO and founder, and Nick Wolf, our vice president and the engineer of product. And we're thrilled to have you all here. Before we kick off, we'll have Courtney and Nick introduce themselves as well.
Hi, I'm Nick Wolf. I'm the head of engineering and product here at Torsh. I come from the K-12 space. I was doing the math last night. I have been in K-12 education for 20 years. Technically, I started as an intern when I was still in high school. So I guess you could say I've been in K-12 education since I was about 5, maybe about 4, if you count the whole span. I worked for the KIPP Foundation where I ran their PD platform. And then I worked for a student information system called Alma. And then now I am here. I started in product, and now I run the product engineering team. I'm really looking forward to showing you what we've been working on with our talented AI tool. I really think it's going to help really lighten the load for your coaches and long-term your teachers as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Williams, and I'm the founder and CEO of Torsh. I started Torsh about 12 years ago with the hopes of, or with the intent to make it possible for students that look like me to have better opportunities. When we started Torsh, we figured out pretty quickly that the best way to make it possible for more students to have a high quality education was to improve the quality of teaching and give them access to a high quality instructor or teacher. And so that is the founding mission of Torsh, to improve student outcomes by increasing teacher effectiveness. And one of the things we've learned over the last 12 years is that coaching is a really, really valuable and important way to increase teacher effectiveness, but it is hard. It's hard to do, it's hard to scale. It's a challenge. And so today, what we're going to walk you through is our integration of AI features that we think are going to be very critical in lightening the load of coaching and easing the lift that's involved with providing coaching at scale. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. And we're excited to show you what we've been working on. All right, and so as we jump in, I think, Jamie, if you can move that forward for me, that would be great. So for a lot of folks on this call, I think there is a little bit of, well, let me not speak for you. I'll just say for a lot of people in education in particular, there's a bit of trepidation around AI and what it means for them. There's a little bit of fear that AI is going to take their jobs. There's a fear that AI is going to take over the world. And so as a person in the technology space, we feel that there are good ways you could use AI and not so good ways you could use AI. We're only interested in the good ways you could use AI. And so for us, we're going to show you how we've integrated AI into our platform to become an assistant to coaches and not a replacement. We believe that AI's role, as we believe most of technology's role, is to assist the humans in doing things faster, cheaper, more efficiently to get more access. And that's the sort of spirit in which we've built out AI technology in our platform. You'll see that we don't have a separate AI product. We've sort of infused AI throughout our entire platform, and we're going to show you how it can sort of streamline the administrative elements of coaching so that the humans have more time to spend with other humans. So just think about spending all of your quality time, really work with the human, the social emotional aspects, and all of the administrative elements are handled by a piece of hardware. Before we begin, though, I think it'd be good to sort of like step back a couple, maybe 50 or 60 years or so, maybe longer, and to give you an analogy of how we're thinking about AI by talking about an elevator. And so in the old days, when elevators were invented, from the very beginning, elevators were capable of being fully automated. From the first elevators could have been automated, but one of the things they realized that despite this capability, the humans who they intended for to become the passengers of these elevators were afraid of the elevators. They didn't believe that the elevator could do what it could do. So to ease this transition, they added operators. And so in the beginning, every elevator had an operator. And then only a few of the elevators operators, or maybe the operators did different things. And now today, if you were to walk into an elevator and saw an operator, you would be shocked, confused, sort of surprised. You'd be like, what is an operator doing here? And this is very much how we think about our integration with AI. The goal is to always have it interacting with a human before it does its work. So think about moving from being a content creator or an author to becoming an editor, where the AI is doing things for you, but as the human, you're still the operator. And so we think that, over time, as we work with AI, it'll become easier and easier to think about the AI tool doing a lot of things for us that we do on our own today. And so I'm going to hand it off to my colleague Shelby to talk a little bit more about, why we think AI is valuable and how it's going to help us in the coaching space in particular.
Yeah, so this is the most important part. Why? Want to start by talking about the reality that many of you face as coaches and providers. We know that the demand for coaching is only growing, but resources haven't necessarily kept pace with that. And the coach to teacher ratio is a real challenge. According to the National Center on Early Childhood Development, Teaching and Learning, many coaches support up to 10 to 15 educators at a time. And that's a huge load. And it often means that you can't provide the kind of personalized feedback that you know your teachers need to thrive. And it's not just the number of teachers, it's the time it takes to provide the meaningful feedback as well. Reviewing videos, completing assessments, and goal setting can take hours for each educator. A University of Florida study found that feedback delays of several weeks negatively impacted teacher performance. And so one of our goals is to, condense that time. And then let's not forget about professional development fatigue. Coaches report spending up to 30% of their time on administrative tasks alone, like scheduling and preparing materials. So that's time that you could actually spend observing classrooms, having coaching conversations, and really working on growth. So no wonder so many coaches and educators are feeling disengaged. And when you add inconsistent feedback on top of all of that and a lack of personalized learning and development, it's clear that we need a solution. So educators deserve professional development that is tailored to their needs, and coaches need tools that let them provide that. And so how is AI transforming education? And Courtney will kick a little bit off on that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Shelby. So how can AI help? I think for many of you, everybody is familiar with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is what is considered a LLM or large language model that is implemented by OpenAI, but ChatGPT also has competitors. So Google Gemini is a competitor to ChatGPT. There are several other companies out there that are launching their own LLMs. And so with the proliferation of these LLMs, we are seeing the impact on education. We know definitively, and we've already seen it, that AI is impacting education. Students are using it, teachers are using it, administrators are using it. So the genie's out of the box. It's not going to go away. It's here to stay. We don't think it's going to replace educators. You know, for as long as I've been in education, every new technology, people are like, oh yeah, this is going to get rid of teachers, or this is going to replace the adults, or this is going to replace humans. That has never been the case. We need humans even more during this time, I think, than before. And our particular perspective, and the perspective of a lot of folks, is that AI will just simply make it easier to do our jobs. It can automate the repetitive tasks like transcription and data analysis, and it can create personalized learning paths that we've been thinking about for years, but that have been hard to do, and all preserving the unique expertise of a coach to look into the eyes of a teacher, understand that the teacher is struggling, understand that the teacher needs help, and be able to lend a helping hand, a hug, a pat on the back. AI will never be able to do that. So I think of AI as a tool that works alongside our coaches. Down the road, we may develop some tools to work alongside the teacher directly. But in the early days, we think of it as a tool to work alongside a coach that makes it scalable and adaptable and personal, and be able to create more personalization for the end user. And so those are some of the things that we're thinking about when we think about implementing our AI tool. One of the things that we wanted to talk about specifically is that the humans that created AI, they have biases, and those biases will most certainly pass over to the AI. And we're aware of these biases, right? We're cognizant of the ever-present threat of these biases in AI. So for us here at Torsh, we believe that we need to think about how these biases can impact the implementation of AI in the world. And so for us, when we launch our AI tools, we have implemented safeguards in our AI use. For our partner, Latimer AI, that is a bias detection and mitigation feature that is layered on top of LLMs. So for instance, it can recognize if the language that's being used in the information that's being provided by the AI is gendered, or may have some overtones that might be uncomfortable for people of certain ethnicities. And it highlights these kinds of this kind of language, and it allows us to adjust that language before it gets to our end user. And so these are things that we think are important, that if you can think about these things before you deploy AI, it'll be a much more comfortable interaction with the humans that are going to constantly using AI as a guide. And, you know, as we think about that down the road, we think it'll become that much more important for the implementation of these tools with students, with the adults that are in our spaces. And so maybe we can go to the next slide. So we've been talking about how we've implemented AI, but I think the important thing for us today is that we'd love to show you some of the things that we've been working on, right? So what is talented AI? When we talk about talented AI in the Torch context, we think about it as a tool that is incorporated throughout the platform. It is not a standalone feature. It is not a standalone product. It is elements that will make everything that you'd otherwise be doing in the Torch Talent platform easier, faster, more efficient. And so today we're going to show you three of these elements that we have on the screen, just for, because we don't have that much time. So we're going to show you three of them. Some of the others that we won't show you today, we're still working on, but we have them. And the goal ultimately is that we'll be able to provide an AI implementation for providing conversational feedback directly to learners, coaching summaries that would otherwise have taken a lot of time to do. We can now do that. Personalized learning paths that will be based on goals and action steps that can just be created on the fly for a given user. Direct feedback when a teacher may ask a question and maybe a coach isn't available, we could provide them with very quick feedback and at the same time inform the coach that this is something that they need to think about. Automated assessments and analysis, and AI goal generation. But the reason Nick is on the call is that Nick is head of our engineering and product team. And so I'm going to have him walk us through the actual demo so you could see a little bit more about how these features work.
Perfect. So the way I'm gonna walk you through our talented AI tools, kind of like a day in the life. And kind of one thing I want to talk about before we dive into it is underlying all of our talented AI integrated tools is the coaching framework and model that drive that information. So we are model and framework agnostic at Torch. We don't have a preferred method. We support really all of the models listed here. So before the coaches and teachers get into our platform, the administrator of the system, the administrator of the program, can go in and choose what framework, code like teaching model and teaching framework you utilize as an organization, and set that so any kind of interaction with the AI tool will be framed around the practice that you're actually doing, as a practitioner. And so these are really scalable. We can really add whatever we want here. It's easy for us to do. And so if you implement a framework that we don't currently support, we're happy to add that. We've built it with that in mind. So really the first step anyone would do with our platform is set their framework and model. And then the next step would be going into the platform, which I am going to start demoing now. So let's see. Can you all see my video? You should see the platform.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Thank
Looks
you.
great.
Yeah, I can't see it, so it's because I've been digitally inserted inside, so I can't see the outside. Anyway.
So Nick, maybe it'll be good to just give them an overview of the specific things you're going to be demoing.
Sure. Yeah, so the first thing we're going to talk through is our AI observation tool. So this is, a coach or a teacher will upload a platform video into our platform from our mobile app or from the web, and then the AI will provide an assessment of it. So we'll look at that. After that, we'll look at the timestamping comment feature. So that's where it'll actually embed timestamp comments into the video. And then we'll look through a learning path, a generated learning path to help turn your coaches from authors into editors. So we'll talk through each of those features in more detail as I get to them. But kind of to lay the groundwork, we're going to start with what we consider one of the core functionality of the platform, which is completing an observation on a practitioner. So that would be, I'm going to wear my coach hat. I had a teacher go in and film, they filmed themselves or I filmed them, and they uploaded the video either through our mobile app or through the platform into our system. And I'm going to assess that video using the current tools. I'm not going to use AI for this. I'm just going to basically do an observation of this, a classroom video. So I'm going to go ahead, find my teacher, my sample teacher here. Happens to look a lot like me. It's a demo environment. And I'm going to pick the rubric we're going to use. I'm going to use my classroom observation rubric. And so as a coach, normally see it's a 26-minute long video. I have seen at KIP, our videos would tend to be about an hour and 20 minutes long since everything was block periods. But I've also seen it, here's a 20-minute lesson, here's a 5-minute lesson. It can be whatever length you want. But for this example, I'm going to use a 26-minute long video. So as the coach, first thing I would do is go through and review my rubric to make sure I'm familiar with it before I start watching this 26-minute video. So this rubric that I put together here, 0 to 3, first section is engagement and responsiveness. So this is how does the teacher respond to the students? Are they adjusting expectations and delivering content in a seamless manner? How's the clarity? So that's another section of my rubric. And so as a coach, I'm going to be responsible for both, selecting how the teacher does in these categories, but also writing additional feedback. So, how did they do? How was their diction? And then providing more detail. Then we've also added a couple different questions in here. All of this, fully customizable per each of our customers. You can build whatever you want, however many you want. Let's see here, which of the following items occurred during the lesson? There was a fire drill, music was played. I put some fun ones in there just in case, to trip up the AI in case we need to do it later. Have some free response. So, please identify 3 areas from the video where the teacher could improve their practice. And then what percentage of the video is comprised as lecturing? So that would be something, if I was going to review this as a coach, I would, take a guess. So in order to really start doing this as a coach without any kind of assistance, just going through the average active coaching, I would start the video.
Our story's going to be about.
I would watch
through the book.
This 26-minute long
What do you think
video.
the story's going to be about?
What I'd probably do, I'd probably cheat a little bit and maybe play it at like 1.5 speed, maybe 2 times speed. But at the end of the day, as the coach, I'm going to be watching this video probably 2 or 3 times in order to fully.
Our first picture, is this the past, present, or future? Wait,
Here.
this first picture, look at it. There's no camera. It's not a picture. It's a painting.
I love the way he's interacting with the students, worked with his teacher a lot. I'm going to go ahead and mark them with a 3 and then write some feedback. Oh, sorry, didn't type. There we go. I love the way you talked about the past, present, future. Very helpful dialogue. And I would just go through the entire video and I would fill out the rubric. Pretty common. I imagine everyone on this call has filled out a rubric in this manner at some point. And
So we have 3 choices: past.
jump through the video, find different spots.
Well, the story talks about.
Sure.
I guess somebody talking, not being a good learner. The story talks about how.
I go through the whole rubric, go through the whole video, give assessments. Let's say I gave a 2 here. Respond to the bullets. Overall, we found that it takes probably about 50% longer to do the actual observation than the video itself. That's what I found in my practice. When we were at KIPP, again, if it was a 2-hour-long video, the coach would be spending about 4 hours giving actionable feedback, typing out all these pieces. And we have some rubrics that we've worked with that are really quite extensive. So this is I would say, a relatively light rubric. It has 3 items here with a few comments, and then a slightly longer one. Thankfully, because this is not a real observation, I cheated and I copy and pasted something, so I don't have to type all that. And then I'm going to say 60% was lecturing in the video. So that's kind of where the standard coach would interact with this video. So I've spent about, I would say to do this properly and to give good actionable feedback, you'd probably take a full hour, maybe a little bit more, to do one of these videos. And if I have 10 of these videos, or 10 to 15 different teachers I'm coaching at any given time, that time adds up a lot, especially because there's nothing scarier and harder to work with than a blank page. That's why we have rubrics in the first place, because having just an open-ended, never-ending response is difficult. So let's do this the same process, but let's do it using our talented AI tool. So I'm going to get rid of this observation. Wasn't real anyway, so it's okay. I'm going to make another one. So I'm not leaving the page, not going to a separate AI tool. I am going to just scroll down, pick my rubric, and click the Use Talented AI for Observation button. So here you can see, we actually have built in what I think kind of my favorite feature about this is we allow the coach to choose the base level, like the grading philosophy behind the assessment. So we have a strict philosophy where it's going to be a little, I don't want to say harsher is not the right word because RAI is never harsh. We have asked it to be very nice and polite, but it will give a more critical assessment of the video. So, we found that because coaches develop relationships with teachers, they might trend towards giving softer feedback and not necessarily getting all of the needed feedback for those teachers. We have a normal, which is really, we're not putting any kind of thumb on the scale. It's just going to assess it based on the rubric, no strictness, no leniency. And then we have a lenient option. This would be a great use case for an informal observation, maybe an observation requested by the teacher, something along those lines. But for now, I'm going to go with strict, and I'm going to click generate. So this is now kind of passing along the information through the large language model. It's going to be assessing the video, and it's going to be assessing the rubric. So just in the chat now, since we have about 20 more seconds while this generates, how long does it take your coaches on average to do an observation? Is that something you run into, like long delays? Is 20 minutes, 50% longer? What are we talking about? Feel free to type it in the chat. Anybody? Oh, well, 59 minutes. So that sounds like a long time to do an observation. Well, let's see. So RAI is done. Let's see how she did. Coach spent about 30 to 45 minutes. I mean, that's a lot of time to do, pretty standard observation tools. Let's take a look. So Jamie, I know the same feeling. When I worked at KIPP New York, it would be an hour and a half to get out to our Brooklyn school and then a 2-hour train ride to get to our school in the Bronx for a 30-minute meeting with a teacher. Okay, so the AI has gone through. It has done their magic. Let's see what we've got. So teacher engaged. So it gave the teacher a 2, proficient, which is not quite what I did. I gave it a 3. Teacher engaged students effectively with questions and prompts, but the responses were not always immediate or seamless. And then it gives me a timestamped example about where the teacher did not do enough detail. Pretty cool. And then it goes through all of it. It actually gave the teacher almost all 2s. I was giving him 3s. So probably would make me want to go back and rewatch the video maybe a little bit closer if I'm not that aligned with the AI. Although, to be fair, I have a history of being a little more lenient, I think. So I bet if Courtney was doing this, he would have given them all 2s to begin with. And then as we scroll down, it answered the questions for me. One of my favorite little features here too is this little eye here. We have the AI explain why it selected these options. This is only visible to the coach. It is not something the teacher can see, but it's a little bit of extra information about why it's selecting something. So if you have a bunch of items here, like this here, you can see these are just check boxes. There's no place for the AI or the coach to kind of explain their reasoning. But we have that here because this is a tool for coaches. It's a coaching assistant. It's not meant to be the coach. So it's actually giving the coach more detail about its answers rather than, just giving the answers. It could be, a black box, but we don't want it to be. We want it to be a tool that your coaches and practitioners engage with. And then down here, you can see I asked for 3 different areas in the video where they can improve their practice. It found 3 different areas where it wants it to improve its practice. So this is good detail. It's good, helpful things. And it points me in the direction of where I would want to go as a coach to further. Yeah.
One of the things I want you to highlight is that when it gave you the feedback on the 3 things that the user can do to improve, it actually highlighted those areas in the video with the time.
Yeah, you can see them up here. So if I actually click on one of them,
It might be really dangerous to cook. It's not as safe as a stove. It looks like she was using
slow
wood
down a little bit
to cook.
It
What
took
was
him,
she using,
it
Muhammad?
took me directly to where he wanted me to.
Very good. I like what Muhammad said. Let's repeat. In the past, she was using.
So it's really dynamic, and it's getting, the great thing is the way we've built it is model agnostic. So as the AI models get better and better, our results are going to get better and better. So that's also kind of a fascinating piece. And so this is not something that's visible to the teachers. This is a tool for coaches. It's a coaching assistant. So we would expect the coach to go through and use this as a baseline. Our fundamental goal here is to turn coaches into editors rather than authors. So this is a great base for me to start and finish my observation, publish it, and share it with the teacher. And so that's our AI observation tool. One feature that kind of comes with it is we also automatically generate transcripts for these videos, and we also display subtitles. So this is any video you upload to our platform will have automatically created subtitles, and down the road it'll also have translations with it too.
So this is
Nick,
a first version. Sorry, was somebody saying something?
I was just saying, and for those who don't know, how do they get their video uploaded into the platform? We didn't
Oh
talk
yeah.
about that yet. Mhm.
Well, we have a couple different ways. Yeah, I see people liked my little translation line. Very good. Very soon. Excited about it. So videos get into our platform a couple different ways. They can use our website. You can see I have my little upload button right here. But also our mobile app will capture the videos. It'll automatically upload it. And with our automatic sharing rules in place, it'll automatically share the video with the assigned coach of that teacher. So it'll really streamline the practice. And if you run into this is definitely something I ran into at KIP. I'm not going to say it was something you ran into in your organizations. Teachers who are less inclined towards technology, or practitioners who you are struggling to get them to kind of follow procedure. We built in a lot of automatic tools to take that lift off the teachers as well. So that's kind of our AI observation tool. Let's take a look at our.
Before you
Okay.
jump, Nick, I want to make a comment about scale. So what you've noticed here is that this is still a manual process by the coach.
Yeah.
So the video would be uploaded, shared to the relevant coach. The coach would have to go in, select a rubric, and then ask the AI tool to do something. And this is intentional, and this is sort of like our baby steps approach. However, there is a version of this that we will deploy that allows an organization to have every video uploaded by a given teacher run through this process without any actual action by a coach. So literally all 50 videos that I receive in a period of time, run it through the AI coach, and then inform me when it's done, and I'll come in and I'll take a look at it. And so this is our process for delivering scale. One of the big issues that every single organization that we work with that's large runs into is that there's only so many hours in the day, and there are only so many coaches that they have. And each of those coaches have a large group of teachers they have to work with. So how do you manage this? If in fact the tool could actually do the first or second or third pass automatically, that dramatically increases the amount of time your coach has to do other things. And so that's also in the works. We're just going to take it slow, get coaches comfortable that they're in the driver's seat and they're making the request. But at some point in the future, you'll be able to set it up so it just runs by itself for these first and second passes.
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting. And we're going to combine all of that functionality. I mean, again, we're talking a little bit in the future. I'm getting a little ahead of our presentation, but I'm going to talk about it now anyway, because it's kind of cool. We're also going to be, with consent and approval, be using the data within your specific talent system to better inform the AI. So the more it's used, the more aligned it will be with your processes, and the more actionable feedback you'll be getting within the platform. And so let's take a look at our learning path feature, because that's another piece we want to highlight. Our learning path tool is a coaching LMS. It's a place for you to offer course material designed to improve practice. Right now, that a lot of that work is done really everywhere manually. So maybe it's PowerPoint presentations that were made years ago. Maybe it's new material that's being made on the fly as needed. And really, it's a heavy lift to create this content. This is another one of those times where I found that making the content always took 4 times as long as it did to actually present and engage with that content because you want to get it right. And so this is another place, this talented AI tool that I'm about to show you, where we are trying to turn the creator, the coach, the administrator, from a explicit creator to an editor. So we're going to use our AI tool to generate a learning path. So in our platform, a learning path is like a bite-sized bit of educational material that we can offer certificates against, and we have different methods of branching to earn these certificates. But at the end of the day, it is like a light LMS tool. So let's take a look at how we can generate content around a learning path. So let's say you created a system for the first time and you want to, let's use this as a good example, create a learning path about the fundamentals of early childhood education. Let's take a look at it. So I'm going to click try. And so this actually opens up a dialogue with our AI tool. So I tell it what I want, and now I can say, okay, great. How many pages would I like for this module on the fundamentals of early childhood education? I found that when I was running the platform at KIPP, anything more than 4 pages and my learners would kind of stop paying attention. So I'm going to say I want 4 pages, please. I'm also always the please to the AI, just in case, you never know. I've seen the Terminator movies too long to not be polite to them. So you can see here, I asked it for 4 pages. The learning path will have 4 pages. First page will be Introduction to Early Childhood Education. Second page is Key Developmental Theories, Practical Applications, and Assessment and Evaluation. I like that, but okay, so can we replace the 3rd page with case studies? Okay, so great. So it's going to replace the 3rd page with case studies. So let's see what it makes. So this is really very quick. Like I am just having a nice back and forth with the AI. It's going to produce really, honestly, oh, here we go. Great results instantly about the topic I put in. So our engineers, when they were developing this, built out, introduction to JavaScript classes. I saw they made one about this. Again, the AI did most of the work here. They just became editors about the differences between Texas and Carolina barbecue. And it really produces excellent results. I have yet to give it anything less than a very nice feedback. And so it makes the module. I can just add it directly into my originally blank learning path. And then I'm going to be able to go in and edit this. So it turns me in from just a pure creator from a blank page into an editor who is making adjustments based on the individual needs of my practitioners rather than having to come up with all of this from scratch. So again, this example was just early childhood. This was just an early childhood education. But it can be really anything that you do in your practice this would help you generate tools for. And one of the cool things, all of this is based around the framework. Oh, it has been added, based around the framework that I selected as an administrator. So let's take a look at what we made. So now instantly I have converted all of that AI feedback into a module with, assessments. So it has checks for understanding built into it. It has multiple choice it has drop downs, and it even has like page responses, like asking for free responses from the practitioner. Here's my case studies that I had to customize. And look, it made a case study about implementing play-based learning. So this was all based on I would say maybe a 30-second back and forth with our talented AI tool. and it came up with a module that I would say would take someone about, even with an assessment at the end, this would take someone about 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes to complete. Took me about 30 seconds of work without doing any editing or any additional work. I would probably go through and supplement this with maybe, more specific things that I'm looking for. But at the end of the day, I'm no longer working with a blank page. I have spent a fraction of the time I would normally spend to develop this, and I am ready to, go back to a face-to-face interaction. I'm ready to talk with my teachers, and get them what they need in person that the AI just can't provide. And so I think now I'm going to go and start talking about the future of talented AI. So I'm going to stop sharing, and we should get to the presentation. Beautiful, good timing. We've been practicing that handoff. Cool. So the future of AI. So this is what's coming in 2025. And this is where it all kind of starts to come together. And I think it's going to get really cool. So first thing we're going to be working on, actually, this is almost in order too, is dynamically generated coach and admin dashboards. These are going to be things where, based on the results of observations and the results of goals and action steps, we're going to be able to build dashboards for coaches and administrators to really get a good insight into what's happening at their organization level. So right now we know that really everyone we work with is a data-driven organization, and they're trying to be more data-driven. And we believe that this kind of dynamic generation with AI and talented AI assistants is going to make that much easier, because you don't need to develop additional skills to become data-driven. You just need to ingest the data that we can provide you. Another piece is AI-generated goals and action steps. So this would be taking the information that's gathered during observations and during other data form completions in the system, and actually generating goals and action steps for teachers and practitioners based on feedback from coaches. So rather than having the coach having to come up with that on their own, they'll be able to come out with AI assistance and all work essentially together to make sure the teachers are meeting those goals. Part of that comes with an AI-driven feedback for coaches, like AI conversational-driven feedback for coaches and practitioners. So that is much more like, hey, the AI pops up, talented AI. I see you've made good progress on your goal. However, you still have some gaps here. Well, how would you like to address this? And that could be something that's given to the coach or the practitioner, depending on your system settings, and it'll actually help provide personalized feedback, kind of like a coaching assistant, not replacing a coach, but as part of that coaching process. It's kind of like an interim step to save the coach from having to do, every checkpoint. And then long term, we have kind of two features that I think go really closely tied together. One is personalized learning paths for individual practitioners. So the learning path I showed you just now is built around more general. It's a general use, ease of use tool. We're going to get to the point this year where learning paths can be generated for an individual practitioner with an AI based on the goals and action steps for that specific user. So, the AI would see based on the observations, and the coach would basically approve of specific learning path steps and goals and subjects and things that they want the practitioner to learn, and the talented AI will actually build that learning path for that practitioner. And then all of that kind of comes hand in hand with building private AI models based on individual customer data. This is not something that is used to train other models. It is all built internally in Torsh. And that would mean that, your implementation of the pyramid model and your implementation of, the Danielson framework would be unique to you and would be used to basically provide better, higher quality feedback for your staff. And so that kind of training comes with time, because the system has to get to learn, your coaches, your teachers, the way behavior is done. But essentially over time, as you work with the platform more and more, you're going to find the results will get better and better to the point where the AI becomes like a member of your coaching staff. But it'll always need to be have an oversight, because I think we've all seen AI hallucinations, some fun moments. We were testing our AIs a few months ago, and it got itself confused with one of its competitors, which was a very strange moment. But like, so that's why you need to keep coaches in the mix, because there still needs to be human eyes on these things. But we want to lighten the load and ease the lift for your coaches. And that's kind of the future of talented AI.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Maybe I'm a little biased. So we had some great questions come in through the chat. Feel free to continue dropping them, and I can read some out loud. Nick, it was kind of going off your last point, and Courtney, I know you've talked about this a lot as well. And Shalonda, she left, but she'll see this when we send out the recording, said, well, why do we need coaches if talented AI can do all of this? So Nick gave one point of, yeah, human oversight, but how else do we want to expand there?
So I'll take that on. So if you break down the components of coaching or the components of a given coach, I would say there are probably four components. There is an evaluative component, assess how an individual is doing against a rubric or framework or just in general. AI will be able to do that. There is a guidance component, which is based on the evaluation and observation, provide feedback and guidance and direction on what to do next. I think AI will be able to do that. There is a motivational component, as in just because you're told to do X doesn't mean you're going to do it, right? And if you think of any great coach, and I don't know if there are football fans on this webinar, but I'm a huge football fan. I'm a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Tomlinisms, where just because a player has been told that you need to work on your footwork doesn't mean they're going to do it, or that they're not feeling bad on a given day, or they don't have personal things going on, that they need to be motivated. And then the last component is the emotional component, just the ability to connect with someone else. And I do not believe that AI, not now, I don't see it happening, but who knows, maybe in 20 years, I don't see AI being a great motivator, and I don't see AI being able to make an emotional connection with another human being to the point where that human being feels loved and cared for and is willing to walk over the mountain to the other side simply because this person believes in them. So to answer that question more succinctly, there are pieces of the coaching experience that I think AI will be able to do and do better and more efficiently. And then there are pieces that I don't think it will ever be able to do, maybe not in my lifetime, perhaps later. And those things are the things that are uniquely human about us that will continue to require and need human connection.
Love that. We had another question come in, and I'll get to that before some of the others. And so Amy asked, how do your new AI features impact access to data by the AI system and issues around security of our data? Will this be available on our HIPAA compliant contracts? Nick, I have a feeling this is a question for you.
Yeah, so it's a great question, and it's a very good thing to be thinking about. So the way we've implemented our current implementation of AI, no biometric data of the user, like the actual voice and images of people are not being sent to the AI. So that is being stripped out as a privacy protection. And then we also have the ability to strip out automatically PII and other things from video implementations. So we are taking that very seriously. It's a core principle of ours, not just that we keep our data secure. I mean, it's all encrypted, all of the things you would expect from a platform like ours. We could take extra steps to ensure that the AI is not, it's not using our data to train its models, which is where the big violations can come from. I mean, that's one of the original sins of AI is that a lot of the content that is used to train the model, I don't think people know where it came from. We have explicit, essentially contracts with our AI providers that they do not use anything we send them to improve their product in any way. So any of the personalized data tools that we're going to be building will be built in-house and will not be something that's done from one of the, AI giants. It's not going to be training on any of our data. As for whether this would be available to HIPAA compliant contracts, at the moment, it's not. We are still investigating what it would be like to actually provide this level of complexity, but also personalization in a HIPAA environment. It is certainly possible, but it's also something we take incredibly seriously. I mean, I would say our number one priority when we're working with any data is maintaining data security and integrity, and our HIPAA data in particular, because that is very sensitive. There are multiple steps we can take throughout the process to further sanitize the data beyond what I've mentioned already. We are just, at the moment, we are in the piloting stage where we have not implemented those controls, but long-term, I imagine this will be available to our HIPAA compliant contracts. Courtney, anything you want to add to that?
The only thing I would say is that we're intentionally, how do I put it? We're walking a step behind the regulations where HIPAA is concerned.
Yeah.
So HIPAA regulations have not yet fully addressed the issues of AI. And so we're sort of waiting to see how those rules and regulations change to accommodate this new technology. So for now, we're going to be a little bit more conservative in the sense that we've not deployed it and we won't be deploying it to our HIPAA environment. But we know it's important to our HIPAA customers, so we're paying attention to the industry to understand when the regulations will catch up with where AI is currently.
We have time for one final question. If anyone wants to come off of mute and ask that. If not, I do have another one prepared. It looks like Beth came off mute. Yeah, let's hear it.
Hi, I'm sorry I joined late because I didn't have the link.
You're okay.
So just a question, and I'll just a little explanation. So the agency that I work for is through a hospital district, and we are working very closely with University of Florida and Florida State University in an early intervention program here. So I am coaching all the time. I happen to be the lead implementation coach for our agency. And I'll give William a plug. He is fabulous. He is my go-to person.
He is fabulous.
Great problem solver. Just thought I'd throw that in there with any problem that I ever have with Torsh. I love the concept of the AI idea. However, I'm in agreement with you, Mr. Williams, as far as that personalization to coaching, because, we went through a training and it's really supposed to be strength-based, not hearing from a computer, an AI generated, person or thing, if you will, call me old school, that's going to generate, goals for a provider. Because when I'm done with my coaching session and I brainstorm and problem solve with my provider and I say, what is it that you want to work on for your next, session with your family? And, some of them are like a deer in headlights, because after they're done with a rubric, they're like, I don't really know, and so I don't know AI's capacity would be able to brainstorm and problem solve prior to setting those goals. That would be a concern. And I think, when you have that back and forth contingent responding between yourself and the provider, it certainly sets the a very effective pathway to opening up the lines of communication and problem solving with that provider that really might have some challenges. Some others that I work with are like, yeah, I need to work on A, B, C, and X, Y, and Z. And then there's others that don't have that support. And is it fair to have something that's AI generated when it's not really the words of the provider? I think perhaps, if they had an idea, if you can coach them and then pull in the AI, for some additional support, that would be really an ideal situation. But not initial, I don't think really initially off the bat. Just
I
a
think
thought.
that's our thought, right? That the coach is the leader. The coach is the out front, pulling along the assistant, go do these 3 or 4 things for me.
Mhm.
But I have this sort of like the bigger vision about what's going on with this relationship. And so that's how we've built it into our platform. For those on the call who are not current Torch customers, it might be helpful to explain the difference between Torch and Torch HIPAA. So we have a platform that is very secure and it works for, 80% of our customers. But then for those customers of ours that are in the health fields or are regulated or operated by the Department of Health, we provide a HIPAA compliant version of a platform that has a higher level of security and some greater restrictions based on the HIPAA rules. And so we're customizable to work with you regardless of the environment that you're in. If you need a more secure environment based on HIPAA, we've got that. If you just need our regular platform, we've got that, and that's secure as well. So I thought I'd share that with the folks.
Yeah, we definitely see our AI as essentially to give every one of our coaches in the platform one or multiple coaching assistants. So it's not the coach. Our ideal flow of using this platform is, the coaching assistant provides the coach the initial base, and the coach, proves, edits, basically acts as a manager to an employee, and then passes that along. So the ideal would be the words that the end user, the end practitioner actually sees are all either the coach's words or approved by the coach or has had multiple, reviews by the coach before they ever get to it. We're not trying to build a self-service coach. I mean, that may be what some people want down the road, but that's not that's not our philosophy around building talented AI. It is very much an assistant to the coach.
Yeah, and so Nick, and as I wrap up, we have about 1 minute and 32 seconds left. I think that's a big distinction between us and our competitors. We're not in the market building an AI coach to replace coaches. We're not in the market building a teacher-driven tool that replaces coaches. We see coaches as still a very critical part of the equation for a variety of reasons. And our role in this space as a provider is to provide tools that assist the coach and make their lives easier. Lighten the load and ease the lift. We want you guys to keep that in mind when you think about us. That's our new tagline: lighten the load and ease the lift. And so as we think about the future, that is going to be the driver for us as we deploy these technologies. We want to make it possible for you to scale the coaching because the research is very clear. The most efficient way to improve practice is to have a coach who can help a practitioner, a provider, an educator improve their practice. And so we believe in coaching, and these tools are intended to support them. So thank you guys for being with us today.
Yeah.
We really appreciated your time. We hope that the information we gave you has been useful. We hope that you have a sense of us as an organization and our philosophy about coaching and teaching. And we look forward to supporting you in 2025 if you're a customer, if you're a prospect, are you just a friend. Happy holidays. Have some fun.
Happy holidays,
a little bit,
everyone.
and enjoy.
Enjoy, everybody.
All right. Take care, guys.